We're uh, we're in Conway County, Arkansas, which is in the pretty much the central part of the state. Little Rock is basically the center of Arkansas. We're about 50 miles, a little north and west. Right behind us here, you can see Petit Jean Mountain, which was the first state park. I believe I'm right about that, in Arkansas.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with first state park in Arkansas. It's beautiful. Some of you have been on Petit Jean. And then right below that is the Arkansas River, which actually starts in Colorado and it dumps into the Mississippi. This is the Arkansas River levee here that protects the ground. That was built in the 40s. And these ponds here were made, they dug these ponds to help get the dirt to build these levees. So that's why you have these ponds in these areas like this. And when the river floods, and we saw the debris earlier twice this year already, the river's risen so much that these ponds have flooded, and it just restocks the fish in these ponds, which makes for good fishing, as you saw the catfish and the crappie. But we're right at the Ozark Mountains basically start to the north of us, and the Ouachita Mountains start below us, south of us. So Ozark's north, Ouachita south. We're kind of in the middle, right along the Arkansas River. And all these towns here were train stops, and that's the reason you have all these communities through here. The immigrants came in the late 1800s. A lot of Germans and Italians and French settled through here along the train, and Interstate 40 runs through here, which is a major thoroughfare. So it's just a nice little mix of farm ground, mountains, ponds, streams, rivers, trees. Yeah, so my numbers won't be just exact here, but at one time in Conway County, I think the number was about 80 dairy farms. You know, people would milk 10, 15, 20, 30 cows. I believe today there's one or two dairy farms still in Conway County. So that just tells the big picture about farming aspects. It's you can't survive and raise a family on smaller farm operations. You just have to get bigger, and that's what's happened in the cattle farms and then the row crop farms through here. There were dozens when I was a teenager working at the John Deere place. There were dozens, 50s, hundreds of row crop farmers through here that grew cotton, pick cotton, and there was a cucumber plant, pick cucumbers to make pickles. Just lots of farms. Now there's less than 10 farmers through this river valley, and as the older ones go out, the younger ones buy and accumulate more ground. So like I said, years ago, 200 or 300 or 400 acres was a big size farm. Now our farmers, most of them farm 5,000 or 6,000 acres, and that's just been the trend. And you see it, and it happens. We see it in a lot of aspects. We saw it in the John Deere business. That's the reason that we're not in the John Deere business anymore. But what has also happened in that is you see some niche farmers. The pecan farm is one thing. You'll see the farmers market uptown, which Stephen's wife runs. Honeybees, local grown honey. So that's what's neat to me is you see people going back with little smaller operations and eggs, farm fresh eggs and those sort of things. This land, of course, the Arkansas River runs through here, and all this was just wilderness. And I guess it was back in the 30s, people who bought this land were trying to, people owned 10 and 20 acre blocks back then, and they would raise their families. They would have cattle and hogs and chickens, and they grow their own corn and gardens and and to do that, they had to clear this property so they could feed their families. And so this land was just systematically cleared, I guess about 100 years ago now is when that happened. And now, like a lot of industries, farming has gotten more corporate also. Farmers are getting bigger and bigger, and instead of farming 20 acres now, or 100 acres or 500 acres, even 1,000 acres is considered a small farm. So it's 4,000 and 5,000 acres, and they have to be able to irrigate and really maximize production to be able to sustain farming. And these marginal properties, just you can't count on them year after year to grow crops because of floods and that sort of thing, and you can't irrigate over here. So a lot of this land is now being put, it's just doing like a 180 almost. It's going back into, I guess that'd be a 360, wouldn't it? Yeah, well, one of them, yeah. Is going back into trees, which has been real good as we've been fishing today. And so as far as the recreational use of this property, you know, the habitat, deer, ducks, fish, it's really good for the recreation purposes. My family started in the John Deere business in Atkins, Arkansas, which is about 10 miles west of here, in 1944, and moved to Morrilton in the late 40s. And we were in the John Deere business until 2019. So we made a 75th anniversary being in the John Deere business, and Deere and Company was looking for dealers to consolidate. They wanted larger dealer units, and we had 3 locations. We had Russellville, Morrilton, and Damascus, and we enjoyed being in the small town, family-owned type dealerships. So we just weren't in the picture for being a John Deere dealer, long-term picture. So we sold out in 2019, and shortly after we sold out, a friend of ours, a good friend of mine, had a pecan orchard it's actually just right behind us for 25 years, and he got to retirement age, and he decided to sell. And Stephen was getting out of college, and Hemp his older brother was working for me at the John Deere place.
Well, it's a short-lived story. It's not a very long story, but we did, 5 years we were in the pecan business. This was after being in the John Deere dealership.
So we decided to buy a pecan orchard. We didn't really research it as long as we probably should have, but it was fun. It was outside, and it was a beautiful 2,000 tree, 160 acre orchard. And so we bought it, put in cleaning plants, cracking, shelling plants, put in a retail store, and it was enjoyable. But after about 5 years of it, we could just see that Stephen was married and was having a baby, and it was not going to be a long-term endeavor. So we had an opportunity to sell, and that's when Chestnut came about, and they were looking for land up and down this area, marginal properties to plant trees on. And so we had an opportunity to sell, so we took an opportunity, and Stephen actually went to work for Chestnut. Hamp, his older brother, is back in school, so it worked out fine.
You know, part of my job, being a land manager, the best part of my job is meeting the other neighboring landowners or the individuals that sold the land and the property that they farmed for, 20, 30, 40 years. Getting to meet those people, shake their hands, learning about the property, like he, talked about with the marginal ground and how they had to farm marginal ground but still make a living year after year. It's impressive. It's a testament to their character and them as farmers. So getting to meet those people as a land manager has been the best aspect of my job so far.
What has happened with, say, Chestnut moving in this area, it gives the landowners an option to do something with their property. The property that maybe is marginal and they can't get a return off of, because it just won't produce. It does give that landowner a good option to do something else, to sell their property and potentially lease it back and to use it for recreation. So it creates another avenue for the landowner. We have ponds here in the Arkansas River, which the fishing can be excellent at times. Deer, I don't think we've seen any deer today, but this place just has a lot of white-tailed deer. Today I wish a deer would walk by, it'd be pretty. And there are snakes and turtles and those sort of things too that we don't care about, but squirrels, eagles. There's an eagle's nest I pointed out earlier. You can't see it now because of the foliage, but several bald eagles are in this area. And it's honestly, there are days I'll just drive up to the levee or park here and just watch, just see the different birds and just enjoy the outdoors. I mean, you hear birds chirping, and a breeze. It's just beautiful.
The part of Chestnut, a benefit of them coming in and doing this is the land. You can see it. It's not been cut. It's not manicured, and it allows that to naturally go back to, like he was talking about earlier, the way it was 100 years ago, where there's more wildlife, biodiversity, and especially as the trees grow and the hardwoods grow and they produce food and sheltered living areas for these wildlife, the recreation will grow, the populations will increase, water qualities will increase. So there's a ton of recreational benefits to what a group like Chestnut is doing for the land and the wildlife in it.
When Greg and Sarah first came, I think it was right at the time they just bought the orchard and bought this farm from us, and they wanted to bring a group up and show them this property, because it's just lovely, as you would say, being an English person. It's lovely, it's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. And so we had our retail store in Morrilton where we sold our pecans and locally grown products. And I remember that day, it was terrible. It was rain and cold, and we invited them to come to our retail store, and we were going to give them pecans, and we were just hosting them. They'd bought the farm, but it was fun to see the group that had bought the farm. So they all came to the store, and we had a pot of coffee, and they all drank coffee, and we gave them peanuts. They had pecans, and they had samples, and they were quizzing Stephen and his brother Hamp about the orchard, asking questions about the fertilize, the spraying, the harvesting, and the care and maintenance of the pecan farm. And Stephen and Hamp just were having a conversation with Greg and Sarah and several others. And honestly, Greg told me afterwards, he said, "Your two sons impressed me. I would like to hire them. We want them to go to work for us." So that's how it actually started, was drinking coffee on a cold, rainy day and eating pecans at our retail store. And it just, one thing led to another, and Stephen applied. Hamp decided he was going back to college, and Stephen applied, and took a couple, 3 months, but was hired. And but it is fun. My family's been involved in agriculture my whole life. We have some other farms. We were in the John Deere business. We have deep-rooted relationships with most all the farming community within a 3 or 4 county radius, and Stephen gets to interact with them, and they honestly, with the reputation that my family nurtured through the years, being a friend to the farmer, they trust Stephen, and they know when Stephen tells them something, it may be something that they don't really like all the time. They're going to plant a tree here, they're going to put a ditch here, whatever they have to do. It may not be something that they like, but they trust Stephen, and they know Stephen will go to bat for them to make sure their best interests are looked after also. So it's been enjoyable for me. Well, I do enjoy the outdoors a lot, and I told Stephen, he's not been there yet, but we just bought, a friend of mine and myself bought a couple 100-acre farm that has about a 20-acre lake on it, about 15 miles north of town. And the reason I do those sort of things is I want Stephen and my kids to be able to enjoy the outdoors. I want my grandkids, I have 3 grandchildren now, and I want them to be able to enjoy the outdoors and take them in a boat and go fishing, or take them deer hunting or squirrel hunting, or just take them outside to look at birds and hear the birds. Stephen's son, he loves being outside. That's what they want to do, is play in the garden, play in the dirt. And I just think that's so important for kids to understand where their food comes from, and have an appreciation for trees and the outdoors. The fact that these properties and the properties we just acquired are going to stay in trees, it makes me happy. I mean, there won't be a tree cut other than some firewood while I own it. It's just to use and to enjoy, and be able to just relax and just enjoy Mother Nature. She's beautiful.
This is my hometown. This is where I grew up, and I live in Fayetteville. It's a college town for 4 years while I was in college, but I came right back here because it's my home, and the people I grew up with are here. The people I looked up to are here. A lot of them were farmers in the area, just growing up in the John Deere dealership business. But yeah, I mean, it hits home. Seeing that Chestnut is coming into areas like this, which is near and dear to me, so that means a lot to me. To be able to continue communicating with the individuals that I, were communicating with as a kid growing up. So and I do, just being outdoors is something I've always enjoyed. Our grandpa was a forester, and he could name any tree species if you just point at it. So it's just, I feel like it's in my blood to a degree. So, and that is an aspect that the boots on the ground of areas that we operate in. That's, as we grow and scale, there's going to be the need for connections in these areas. The contractors we use, there's still work to be done on the ground. The trees have to get planted, and those have to be from people in the area that know the ground. They know what species will work. So there is a lot of job creation as well that comes into play with this, because it's not just you buy the land and the trees are already there. There's a lot of work that goes in. We are pretty passive managers, so there's not, it's not every day I'm out on property doing something, but over time things wear down. You have to repair a road, so you need a contractor to come in and fix the road. Something as simple as that is, it keeps you connected with the communities that the properties exist within, kind of just building the connection base and, getting work done.